Hello everybody, this is Ender's Diamond, and in this video I will be discussing some more Fallout 76 topics that are very interesting. Today's topic will be microtransactions. So we do know that there will be microtransactions in there, however, in the past, Todd Howard has said that those microtransactions will be purely cosmetic, and that those cosmetic items will be available in the world through grind, hopefully not excessive. However, recently with an interview with a foreign reporter, Todd Howard said that it will be cosmetic and stuff, or something along those lines. So, essentially, what this means is that there could be other things. Now, what these things will be, we'll get to see. What he said, though, is he does not want to separate the player base with DLC. Now, my opinion is that DLC are fine. I'm fine with paying for extra content. It's just like paying for a small video game, that's fine. What I dislike is things like loot crates, loot boxes, being able to just purchase currency or items in game and just getting ahead of everybody. Additionally, the ability to purchase something, let's say ammo, weapons, bottle caps from a store would disrupt the balance of power in this multiplayer game a lot and could very well ruin the entire experience. So, do I think they will do this? I strongly doubt they will have things like fusion cores, like ammunition, like weapons, like bottle caps available for sale. I do very much think there will be skins and cosmetics, and there will possibly be a type of armor, like a light armor that you can put on that deals very little, like that sort of undergarment thing you could wear in Fallout 4. And those things may be okay as long as the difference between someone who purchases it isn't that much, or it's not that hard to grind for. The other thing is, these cosmetics. Now, I'm fine with cosmetics, and I don't really care if it's a really hard grind to get them, because I'm really not that concerned with cosmetics. However, that being said, hopefully they understand that their players are going to want these cosmetics, and a lot of them won't be able to afford it, slash, it should be reasonable. So, I get that they're a company, and obviously they need to make money, and that has to be their top priority. That being said, hopefully, since this is their first time, at least I know of, with microtransactions, they won't be extraordinarily overgoing about it, sort of like the way Warner Brothers was, or EA was with Battlefront 2, Warner Brothers with Shadow of War, the way they just pushed it heavily on them, on the player base. So that's going to be very interesting. We'll have to see how that turns out. The next thing related to microtransactions is, could it be a serious issue? Now, what they have said is that they'll want to make free DLC, and the way they'll afford this DLC is through microtransactions. People will purchase these items, and then they'll have extra money to make this DLC because they don't want it to be paid, they want it all to be free. So if it's purely cosmetics, people may say, it's not that hard to get these, I'll just get them in the world, I don't want to pay $5 for a skin, or something like that. In which case, we're in another issue. They can't create free DLC, in which case they either have to ramp up the microtransactions, or they have to not make DLC, or they have to do what Todd Howard said they already don't want to do and separate the player base, which I agree would be difficult. Now, if you created one large DLC, maybe not that bad, because you essentially get 50% here and 50% on the other side of the DLC. Not 50%, but a bunch. So this way you're not like, oh, 6 DLCs, so who has 1, 2, and 3, who's whatever combination of them installed. But one DLC might not be that big a deal. If they do come out with big sort of microtransaction things, my hope is that they'll be fairly ignorable. Now, they may be things like disappear from the map, and I really doubt that. There are games that, like multiplayer games, that have things like, oh, you don't show up on the map for an hour, like mobile game things, like for example, you can't get attacked for this amount of time or something. That is something that they could have, but I doubt they will have, because they don't want it to be extremely unfair for players. It has to be even, and everybody has to be able to have a similar chance. Now, slight imbalances might be okay. Now, I'm very careful with those words, but small imbalances where you have some players that are just ever so slightly above because they spent a lot of money on the game, that might be okay. But a pay-to-win thing, which they have said also they do not want. They do not want a pay-to-win game. That is bad. But that being said, also, you can have non-pay-to-win games. That is a thing with big, heavy microtransaction elements. As a multiplayer game, though, they do have to be very careful. Because, for example, when you insert microtransactions into a single-player game heavily, like, for example, Shadow of War did, you come across not as many issues, right? Worst case scenario, everyone's just spending a lot of money, and it kind of sucks. You're like, this is a single-player game. Why is this happening? But No other players are affected. Players who just want to ignore it, they can just ignore it. Here, a player who just wants to ignore it might not be able to ignore it because everybody else around them has spent tons of money on the game or some money on the game. It should be that if you spend a ton of money, you get a little advantage. If you spend a little money, you get some skins. Now, a small advantage might work. Maybe like, oh, this power armor has like plus 0.5% or something. Or maybe, oh, one free upgrade of one piece of power armor from T45 to T60, something like that. Those might be okay, but as long as they're sort of even and they can be acquired through other methods. The other thing is, I am very curious how long they support this game. They said they want to do it for a while, but obviously they're not going to do it forever. My assumption is that it'll be 6 months to a year of heavy support, and then another year or two after that of minor support, and then another year of essentially the Creation Club. And I don't think there will be a Creation Club in this, but something kind of like, oh yeah, once every couple months or something, or once a month, here's a little thing, buy this thing and enjoy it. And it's like, hey, that's pretty cool. And you're like, but I don't see any more gameplay. I'm bored. So I think the 6 months to a year of heavy um, supporting will be largely because of the players purchasing these microtransactions. And as the players are sort of like, okay, we've got what we need, they might start introducing more and more stuff and more things for microtransactions. But again, they're a business. They do have to make money. So they might find out that it's not going to work for them, and then they'll sort of take off people from this task of updating it. I do think, though, for a couple years they'll keep it, alive, make sure there aren't terrible problems going on, and eventually they will stop supporting it. But that was inevitable. So I hope you guys enjoyed, and I hope you thought this was an informative video. If you guys are concerned about microtransactions or not, please let me know in the comment section below, and please consider subscribing to my channel if you have not. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you all in a future video. Goodbye, guys.